And make co-host. Co-host. Okay. Just verifying that we're live on YouTube. And we are. Excellent. Okay. We will call to order this special meeting of the Easton Board of Education at 6:02 p.m. on May 5th, 2021. The first item is the, members in attendance: Jeff Parker, Gretchen Goldstein, Devin Weibel, and myself, John Stinson. Not in attendance, Randy Hicks or Jenny Cheetah. Jenny may join us halfway through. I know Randy is not going to be able to join at all, but Jenny may be able to join us. I think her schedule is a little bit in flux for this. The first item is public comment. We'll give everyone an opportunity to indicate an interest in making public comment. Okay, hearing none. Board member comment. Okay.
John.
Yes, Jeff. Please.
Is there a problem with the er9.org email system?
I haven't experienced one. Rydell, are you aware of anything, or Clarence?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, Jeff, are you talking email or website?
Email.
No, not that I'm aware of.
It's blowing up on me, telling me that it's somehow out of order. But anyway, it's
it might be a
discussion, but
it might be a security reminder. It might it might be asking you to sign back in with your credentials as just an additional security step.
I did change my password today, so maybe that's what's driving it. Okay,
that could be it. Okay. I'll make a brief comment, and it's sort of germane to what we're going to be talking about. So maybe it's a lead in to our first sort of discussion and possible action. So it's with a heavy heart we acknowledge that the retirement of an exceptional educator and leader. My personal experience with middle school growing up was not great, right? As an adult, I just have never known anyone who really enjoyed their middle school experience. But then there was HKMS. And, I remember my nephew and our neighbors. We have a really sort of tight-knit street, and, the kids are always playing together. And I remember just kind of asking, hey, how's school going? Kind of dreading the response. And, as soon as I brought up school, you would see their faces light up and they'd start talking about how they loved it. And it just didn't compute for me. And then I got to know Sue and her leadership team. And it was clearly obvious why these kids had such a positive view of their experience. So I just want to say, thank you to Sue for everything that she's done to create a safe, inviting, enriching educational environment for the kids. And, jump into our first item on the agenda, which is the process of finding a new principal for Helen Keller Middle School. So what we have here is sort of two parts to that process. The first is the formation of a personnel search committee. So just to make sure that people are sort of informed about the way that works. The personnel search committee is a mechanism that allows the board to review candidates, to have interviews, to sort of go through that process without revealing the names of the candidates, which would be kind of catastrophic for us being able to attract candidates who want to apply for a position that they may not get without sort of revealing to their current employers that they're sort of out there looking. So it's a sort of vital component and enshrined in the Freedom of Information Act and sort of the way that all that works, this is a clear exception to us needing to have public meetings. Now, we are very interested in public feedback. We're very interested in having full participation from appropriate stakeholders and hearing from people about what's important to them. But the process of reviewing the applications and sort of resumes and interviewing and all of that, that is all going to happen within the bounds of a personnel search committee. So in order to start discussion, I would look for a motion that the Easton Board of Education form a personnel search committee consisting of all members of the board and charge the committee to review candidates and recommend to the board a finalist for the executive level employment position of principal of Helen Keller Middle School, that the personnel search committee shall be automatically disbanded upon the execution of a contract between the board and the appointed principal of Helen Keller Middle School. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff. And Gretchen, are you seconding? Excellent. Seconded by Gretchen. Any additional discussion? No? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move. We'll look for a vote here. All in favor? Gretchen, Jeff, myself, Devin.
Yes.
Excellent. The motion carries 4-0 unanimously. That's excellent. Okay. The next item on the agenda is essentially, when we look at hiring for a building leader in a regular year, it's a tough job to do, to go find a building leader. It is especially hard right now. There are a lot of open positions and a lot of demand for qualified, high quality leaders. So we find ourselves, I think, needing a search consultant. It would be my recommendation, but I want to put that in front of the board and see if we can get a consensus there. This is someone who can help establish a detailed timeline for each stage of the process, help host focus groups with the board and teachers and parents and students, and actively recruit and promote the job posting. It is something that we've done in the past for certain senior positions, and it can be highly valuable to have a talented sort of project management focused person who's going to help propel us through that process. So I guess the motion that I would suggest, and certainly open to amendments if anyone's interested, is that the board allocate up to, not guaranteeing, but up to $10,000 to retain the services of a search consultant to assist in the process of hiring a new principal of Helen Keller Middle School. Do I hear anyone making the motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
Gretchen, second. Okay. Any additional discussion?
Yes. Obviously we've had some exposure to a couple of different folks. The people that brought us Rydell. There's also another outfit that is in Trumbull, which is highly respected as well. Has there been any thought about who we would use and what would be included in the monies that we would put forth?
Yeah. Yes, I think the sort of two organizations that you're referring to are the two that I would heavily favor as well as being our two best options. I would, if the board is amenable to it, I would say we should leave it to Rydell to select. But I think at a minimum, it should be included that they're sort of doing the project management, identifying the timeline, giving us that specific timeline, hosting the focus groups, sort of screening but not holding back. I think we are interested in seeing all of the resumes, but having an initial screen and having their input on here's how I would rate each one of these people, all of that I think is reasonable to say should be included in that process. I don't know if everybody does this, but I do know that some will also offer a sort of, not a money back guaranteed, but we'll do another search if the candidate doesn't stick for 2 years or more, then that they'll go back and do the sort of second search for free, which I think is a pretty reasonable
Right.
offer as
So
well.
I just want to be sure that the focus groups are an integral part of what we do. I think we certainly want to have community feedback, parents in particular, whether they have kids in the building or not. And I think that's going to be a very valuable part of understanding the kind of person that we need moving forward.
I agree.
Rydell, do you feel like picking the the consultant, or do you have any thoughts on that?
Thanks, Jeff. I'd be happy to. I mean, so here's some of the beauty of having 3 districts at one time. We just completed a principal search in Reading successfully with one of the consultants who brought us a really great candidate. We're in the process of using the other search consultant in the search in Region 9 for the new head of school. And so, yeah, I'd be happy to pick. When we went through the selection process for the high school vacancy, we put out an RFP and looked for proposals. And just as John said, there are really 3 agencies that you could sort of depend on to do a local or local agencies that we could have to do a local search for a principal, and that is Joe Arardi and Associates, CES, and then also NASDAQ. So we've reached out to all 3 of them with the high school. So I'd be happy to. I feel like I'm pretty familiar with those processes, and so I'd be happy to select one of them.
Okay, very good.
So, and just, from a timeline perspective for the personnel search committee that we just formed and a consultant coming in, like, I think we're talking about getting the position posted immediately, getting the, getting the sort of screening process done before the end of May, having, interviews and like really getting seriously into this, before mid-June, that we have a really good sense of where we're going.
Well, then this is going to be on the express, because that's it's a lot to get done in a very short period of time.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. Any additional discussion? Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
Good.
Good.
Too.
Then I'll move the question. All in favor?
Aye.
I see Jeff, I see Gretchen, I see Devin, and myself. Makes it, and I think Jenny joined us. And I didn't see, and Jenny, you can tell me if you joined. I'm sorry, I didn't see when you joined. If it was after the motion, I think you have to abstain from this one, but you can join us for the next motion.
John, sorry, I've been on for a little bit. I heard the discussion, but my son's not feeling well, so I'm kind of in and out. I apologize.
No worries. Understood. Thanks for joining, and appreciate you being able to jump on. Okay. So the motion passes 4-0 with 1 abstention. Okay. And that takes us to item, apologies, just navigating many screens. Item B, Summer Programming, Easton Educators Association Memorandum of Understanding. So I'm going to put this on the screen here. Here we go. There we go. All right. I hope everyone can see that. Oh, good. I can zoom in. Okay. So we, and Stephanie, I will allow you to sort of jump in. I'll just very quickly tee this up. So we have been doing work to talk about some possibilities for a summer program, similar to a program that's been run for several years in Reading, that really focuses on creativity and fun, and creating some opportunities for sort of that kind of enrichment during the summer. And I think especially after a very long year, sort of pandemic year, the idea here is to reintroduce fun, and not just for the kids, right? It's about the joy of education, of learning for the kids, but it's also about the joy of teaching for the teachers, and finding that spark between that process and making sure that we're concentrating on that. And so there's some really great stuff that's been happening in Reading. We would hope to do something similar this summer to what they've been doing. And so a part of that is that we would need to agree upon the terms for sort of the compensation of the teachers. So this memorandum of agreement, I think the motion we would be looking for is approval of the memorandum of agreement regarding summer school 2021 between the Easton Board of Education and the Easton Education Association, and to direct the board chair to sign the agreement. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Devin. Do I have a second? Thank you, Gretchen. All right, so discussion? Yes, Jeff.
Hours, how many hours in the day? And does this tie into Park and Rec? I know that was part of the discussion at one point.
Yeah.
And what courses are being offered? I think there's a lot of information here that needs to get filled in. I understand it doesn't have to be
Right.
part of the agreement, but I think that the details here are going to be pretty important.
Yep. So yes, sort of coordination with the timing and all that for Parks and Recreation. And Stephanie, apologies if I can't see you right now.
I'm here, John. I'm
Okay,
happy
good.
to fill in. So we anticipate that most courses will run for 3 hours a day, and we will help to coordinate the connection to Parks and Rec camp when a parent wants to participate in the Parks and Rec camp in the afternoon, including transportation. Oh, golly, sorry. So that has to do with this basic number of hours. There could be some exceptions to that. We want to have some amount of flexibility, which is why the MOA does not spell out an exact number of hours. In the Reading programs that have been successful in years past, some of the middle school programs run for a time period that bridges morning and afternoon. And so if we have interested teachers and interested families, then we want to have the flexibility to do that as well. So the tuition will be based on the rate that's been negotiated with the teachers, and then enable them to have some supplies with an offset from the ESSER II grant. So we have been working with the town to also include an opportunity for our elementary school students to participate in one class a week with the library program. So our library media specialists in the two towns are willing to come on site to the elementary school in Easton and the elementary school in Reading, and offer a program most likely to our youngest learners, students entering K through 2, and do some type of a story time program that would run for about an hour. So it might be that families will come just for that program. It could be that they participate in the morning Summer Academy Enrichment Program and then stay for the library program. But our staff will help to sort of coordinate the movement between those two things to support the community in general. And we've really had terrific collaboration with our town leaders, with Park and Rec, with the library as well. So we're looking forward to being able to do that. In terms of the specifics of the courses, so much of this will depend on the teachers that are interested in participating. So we surveyed the staff, I should say the teachers surveyed their own membership several weeks ago, and it got back the initial interest, but a fair amount of time has passed. So the content of the courses will really be dependent on what the teachers create. And then of course, administration will approve any of the courses. As John described, these will be aimed at enrichment, and they will certainly include an academic bent. This is not meant for, at the high school, we might have a credit recovery experience. These are really enrichment courses. This is meant to be fun and engaging. And certainly anytime we engage kids in reading and writing and solving problems, then we think that's going to help their thinking skills and their academic gains as well.
And how much of it, Stephanie, will be aimed at specific grade levels?
So there will likely be a span. So it will be for students entering kindergarten all the way up through entering 8th grade. And the way that the program has worked well in Reading in the past, and the way that I anticipate it will work in Easton, is that there might be a program that's really for those kids just entering kindergarten. And then there might be a program that's really early literacy skills, and that might be for kids in grades K and 1. And then you might have other programs that are, let's say, mystery science, which might be for kids entering grades 3 through 5, or, it could be a slightly wider span, really just depending on the content of the class.
And when will those classes be solidified?
Well, once the agreement has been solidified, then the association will be able to reach out to their membership to get the actual descriptions. We have a template laid out, so I think that will sort of help with the logistics of the work. But I would certainly hope that we'll have a good sense by next week. And then at that point, we'll be able to send information out to parents. The information is really sent out through the people who are designated as advisors of the program. So this agreement includes an advisor for Samuel Staples and an advisor for Helen Keller. And those people are really charged with the management of the program. So while we will approve the courses, they're really running the show during the day. And so the coordination of registration really is done through those two teacher leaders. And then Mr. Zachary and I were working today on how payment will be processed. And we are going to use the School Bucks program, which will enable parents to register and pay for classes much as they would sort of an online shopping experience.
And where are we finding? I mean, I'm sure that the tuition is not meant to cover the entire cost. Where are the other funds coming from? Is it from the federal program that was laid out for us earlier? I guess it's the E. What's the Clarence ESSER?
ESSER 2.
Yep. So the ESSER 2 funds will cover up to 50% of the programming, and then the rest is sustained through the parent paid tuition.
Why just 50%? Or is that part of the hook from the federal government?
No, we looked at. Go ahead, Stephanie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not. That's not a parameter that's been laid out by the government. It really had to do with the many ways that we're looking to spend the ESSER 2 funds. Now, ESSER 2 is not the end of the grant funding. We're still receiving details about ESSER 3, also known as recovery funds,
Right.
And those funds are much greater. So
I would just hope that that whatever is being charged to the parents would be nominal. I think it would be a wise decision for us to be able to make this as affordable as we can for families.
Agreed.
yes.
So we send the courses get decided upon, the teachers commit to it, and then parents will be then asked to sign up, and obviously there has to be a window where parents will need to sign up, maybe June 10th to June 20th or something like that. And what if there's more, many more parents than we have teachers? I mean, is it going to be on some kind of a lottery system, or how's that going to work?
Sure. So it depending on the course, if there are many interested participants, we have the option of adding support staff that will enable them to have more students in a group. And that's not part of this agreement, but that's certainly something that we've discussed and we've done in the past. And in terms of the cutoff, what I imagine is that when the registration is open to the parents, then they will be able to register from the time that they receive the document. And then we certainly will have a cutoff date, because we don't want to make a decision to run a class and then have people drop at the last minute, and then we've already made the commitment to pay teachers at a certain hourly rate, and other families are left hanging as well. So we will certainly have a cutoff date in terms of the when a decision must be made, or when we'll no longer refund the tuition money.
With our relationship with the union, if there are not enough parents interested in sending their kids, and yet we've gotten a commitment from let's say 15 teachers, I'll just pick a number, but the program is really only going to support 10 teachers, just because of the number of parents and students that have signed up, are we obliged to pay the other faculty who had expressed an interest in being a part of this?
No, we're not. There has to be a sufficient student participation in order to run the class. It's not a hard number, because it really depends on the class.
Sure.
So I might have a class for students entering kindergarten that would be perfectly appropriate at a size of 5. I wouldn't run maybe a middle school sports program for 5 kids.
Okay. So this is enrichment, but it's based on academics as opposed to let's say recess. I mean, we're not going to have a course on teaching volleyball, or a course on how to throw a frisbee, are we?
This is enrichment that will include academics, but you might find a course on scrapbooking, or something that is much more engaging in an enrichment type of manner. And some might say, I don't see how this is academic. And you're going to find other classes that might be brush up on your basics, 1st and 2nd grade numeracy skills, learning through, with a certain theme base. So I anticipate having an array of courses.
Okay. Well, I just want to be sure that parents understand what they're signing up for. That this is not just a glorified babysitting situation, but it is it's something to help move our kids from point A to point B, C, or as far as they can take it.
Yes.
Good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Any additional comments? Okay. And I will call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I see Gretchen, I see Jeff, I see Devin. I believe Jenny is abstaining. That is 4-0 and 1 abstention. The motion passes. Very good. Okay, that takes us to public comment. We'll look for any members of the public who are raising their hands in the participant window digitally, or turning on their video and waving at us to indicate an interest in speaking. Yes. I'll ask that you indicate your street and town, and you should be able to unmute now.
Good evening, Ann Minuski, 20 Morning Glory. I have a question that I came in after the original public comment to tonight's meeting. We're back to enrollment of before 2007, when we only had a principal at Helen Keller. Was there any discussion that we would only have a principal and not an assistant principal anymore?
Is there any additional comment?
Yes. In regard to the tri-board is operating a policy committee without a charge every Friday. That's of great concern. Also, I expended $39 for a FOIA request, and the materials are missing. In regard to material, when you look at curriculum, it's scope, sequence, and materials. So I would like reimbursement of the $39, and I would like the materials, which I've requested 3 times, or I will be filing a complaint with the FOIA Commission. Thank you.
Any additional public comment? Board member comment? Yes, Devin.
I just wanted to take a quick minute to also thank Sue Kaplan for just being an amazing and dedicated leader. I just know in my time, my kids did not get the opportunity to go to middle school yet, but I've worked with Sue before I was on the board, when I was on the PTO, and also as a board member at the ECC, and now on the Board of Education. And I'm just really grateful for her, the work that she does at the community, with the community in the school. And I hope even in her retirement that we get to see her around in the school and engaged with our students. So I just want to say thank you, Sue. I really appreciate you, and look forward to seeing you around town.
Here, here.
Thank you, Devin. Thank you, Jenny. Any additional board member comment? Yes, Jeff.
Well, I'd like to echo my thanks to Sue Kaplan. She took over the school in a very, very difficult and tumultuous time. It was a lot of heavy lifting, certainly to make all the transitions that she needed to make. She did it gracefully and graciously, and she'll certainly be missed.
Thank you, Jeff. Any additional comment? So I'll briefly just speak to a couple of issues that were raised in public comment. So one we have previously discussed certainly in previous years, but it also came up this year as part of the conversations with the Board of Finance and sort of discussions about leadership and ratios. There are a number of schools in the area who, depending on the ratios, have one assistant principal and a principal, or have one principal and no assistant principal, and sort of different accommodations. But as you dive deeper into it and look at the ratio of sort of leaders in the building to students, you start to see there's actually real similarities. And there's a school in Westport in particular that has many employees who are identified as assistant principals, who serve roles that are more like sort of things that we wouldn't call assistant principals. So it's more about sort of the ratio of sort of adult leaders in the building who are there for the kids. And I think we have found that there is a heavy recommendation from our educational leaders that we continue to provide the kind of coverage that we've had over the last several years. The other item that I want to address is the question of a charge. So there are 2 ways that a committee can be charged. And it is essentially one with a sort of formal piece of text that is sort of articulated and saved somewhere. The other is charged within the scope of a motion. And in fact, both of them are all sort of charged within a motion. Whether or not that sort of motion is written down and saved somewhere outside of the minutes of that meeting is the question. So we have many, many committees, and there are joint committees and there are individual committees of individual boards. Those committees have a mix. Some are charged only through motion in the meeting that they were created within, and some are charged through that motion, and that motion was actually documented and sort of saved and is saved separately. I am very interested in going back and looking at all of the charges that were done in motion and just making sure that they're saved in a document. It doesn't make it any more legal. It's the same sort of viability of those committees. They're still perfectly legal, but it just helps everybody to understand what the heck is going on, because we are interested in transparency. We want to make sure that we're promoting that and that everybody has the opportunity to understand without having to dig through meeting minutes from the last several years to understand sort of what was the why the committee was created. So in any event, I don't have any further public comment board member comment. Anyone else have any board member comment before we wrap? Okay, well, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff. Do I have a second? Thank you,
Second.
Devin. Thank you very much. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned unanimously at 6:37 p.m. Thanks, everybody.